Alright, so welcome guys to another video, and today we have a really highly requested IEM. This is the CCA CRA, and this seems to be one of the most popular dynamic drivers around under $20. It seems that you have a new tuning here, new configuration from CCA, a new type of sound, maybe much like the CRNs but now in a different configuration, and that's really exciting for me to check out. Of course, what you are getting in the box is your typical CCA packaging here. You're getting CCA CRA, new upgrade heavy bass dynamic earphone as well, 3.5mm jack, 0.75mm 2-pin connector, 20 to 40 kHz in frequency range. Yeah, as you guys know here in the channel, so I do like a lot of CCAs in the channel, so the C10s, C12s, the CKXs. So for hybrid configuration, sometimes I do prefer the CCA version compared to what you're getting with the KZ version. And that this is going to be your unboxing experience, so opening it up. And it seems to be your typical, CCA shape here, bringing an extraordinary audio experience beyond imagination for everyone is our goal for unremitting efforts. So opening it up, this is what you are getting inside, and of course you are getting that cable. So of course you're getting that usual CCA KZ cable. This is your non-braided cable anymore. This won't be as tangly as your braided cables. You're getting additional sets of tips as well. So this is your see-through silicone tips. So looking at the lobes itself, actually I do like the overall look here. You're getting that see-through design. You have that maybe half metal, half plastic design, see-through as well. And of course looking at the shape as well, you're getting that maybe safer shape compared to your CCNs here. So this is your usual KZ CCA shape. So yeah, a lot of people have already worn this. So this won't be an issue for a lot of people. Looking at the insertion, this is similar compared to maybe your ZSN Pro X's. This is definitely gonna have a better isolation for you because it does go inside your ear. Nicely built for the price, but definitely still in the budget side of things in the build quality here. And you're not getting some fins as well, so this might be really breathable on the ear. So we are now wearing it on the ear, and yeah, it's your typical KZ CCA shape here. So again, a lot of people will just wear this and be okay with the overall shape. It does look like your IEM shape on the ear, so of course you will look like more of an enthusiast if you wear this kind of IEMs. And yes, it does go inside your ear, so isolation is really good here for me. And because it does go inside your ear, the stability is really good for me here overall. In terms of comfort, it doesn't have some fins. It's quite breathable on the ear, but maybe that insertion for some people might be an issue. So now we're going to listen to some tunes, and we're going to use the WM1A for our listen today. We are now listening to some Let's Groove by Earth, Wind & Fire. Here's our first impressions. This is more of a U type of shape to the ear. Some say it reminds me a lot of the EDX Pro, but this has a bit more sub-bass for me in the mix, and also more shine as well on top. So for me, the clarity on top here is gonna be a bit more compared to what you're getting with the EDX Pros. And this is more of a monitor type of listen for me in the ear as well. So this is something that you can use for some live monitoring. It has that liveliness in the overall sound, has that revealing nature of a KZ sound here overall. Naturally for me, first impressions, the EDX Pro will still be more bassy of a listen compared to this one. So for me, the mid bass here is a bit less pronounced in the mix for me. So the bass here for me is more controlled compared to what you are getting with the EDX Pro X's. Actually, another thing that I noticed here is the clarity in the vocals. So it's really clear for me in the mix. Again, it has that 12K in the mix here. You have that treble extension, a lot of extension on top here. So maybe in terms of the overall tuning, this reminds me a lot of the CCA CSNs of the world. So something like that, more of a U fun type of shape to the ear. And the clarity is definitely there for me in the mix. But maybe compared to the CCA CSNs, the bass here is gonna be a bit more prominent, especially in the sub-bass region. So yeah, definitely the sub-bass for me is one of the key selling points of this IEM. So actually for me, in terms of the overall listen, this reminds me a lot of the DB1s that I reviewed recently. So the bass has that controlled nature in the sound. So this is not going to be your overly boomy bass in the mix, much like the DB1s. And you're still getting that shine for me in the DB1s on top here. The DB here in the CRAs is going to be more lively to listen to. It's going to be more aggressive to listen to. So a very, KZ type of presentation to the ear. So it has that balanced nature for me in the bass here. But definitely compared to the VK4s, the 12K here, the shine is going to be more in the CRAs over your VK4s. Your VK4s will have a bit more toned down top end. We'll have less of a U type of shape as well. We have a bit more forward mids compared to what you're getting with the CRAs. So going to the bass region, so I actually really like the bass presentation here. So this is in the more musical side of things, fun type of listen to the ear, and quite aggressive in the presentation as well. So actually for me, maybe compared to the DB1s, this might be even tighter in the bass response. So the bass is quite controlled in the mix. The sub bass is definitely there. It's really prominent in the mix. But for me, compared to the DB1s, this has a bit more controlled mid bass for me in the mix. So the bass is a bit more tight for me in the presentation. So you have that ample weight for me in the bass, not overly boomy as well. So that's has a tightness in the overall presentation. So for even some bass tracks with busy tracks, this still will resolve it for you nicely. But for my personal preference, I would like the bass to be still a bit more toned down for me in the mix. This is still not perfect bass for me. So going to vocals here, so definitely it's more recessed for me in the mix for both a male and female vocals. So definitely your bass and also your top end will be more prominent in the mix here. In terms of the overall presentation as well, it's more in the smoother side of presentation. So the body for me is there. But maybe one advantage of the CRAs over the DB1s for me is this has a bit more micro detail for me in the mix. You have a bit more revealing nature in the CRAs over what you're getting with the DB1s. The DB1s still is going to be a bit more smooth in the overall presentation. But actually what I like about the vocals here is actually in some tracks, the vocals is really revealing for me in the mix. So definitely has that clarity in the vocals that you are looking for. So very monitor type of revealing for me in the mix. Even if it's recessed in the mix, it's really quite clear for me in the mix. Yeah, pros and cons here. A bit recessed for what I would like, but you have that clarity in the vocals. So like for example here in Mr. Blue Sky, electric light orchestra. So I like the clarity in the vocals overall. I like the revealing nature of the vocals here. But definitely yes, in terms of the overall presentation, still recessed for me in the mix. Let's try another track, maybe some I'll Be Waiting by Santana. So looking at the top end here, so again, you have that shine, you have that 12K in the mix, and the 12K is actually quite prominent in the mix here. So this definitely has a lot of extension on top, a lot of air frequencies here. So this is one reason why it's really lively for me in the mix. So the 12K, that air frequencies definitely makes your cymbals more alive, more musical to listen to. So going to the cymbals here, actually pretty good for me overall. So this does have dynamic driver presentation. So the body is still pretty good for me on top end. And it's quite front and center in the mix as well because you have that extension on top here. But I like that it's really lively to listen to. It still has really good body in the mix. Like for example here in the I'll Be Waiting by Santana. So the body, the weight of the cymbals is still there. It's not thin cymbals for me to listen to. But still not in the same level as your maybe more neutral pairs. But for a V type of shape, this is pretty good in terms of the body in the cymbals. So definitely for me, it's gonna be better compared to your BA counterparts. So nice cymbals for me overall, and I do like the energetic nature in the sound. Let's try some Sweet Child of Mine by Guns N' Roses. Yeah, guitar tracks here really nice for me in the mix. So this is one of the major advantage of having that 8K 12K extension. So guitars really feels alive here for me in the mix, and it pushes through the mix nicely. So this might be one of the strength for me of this IEM for guitar tracks, for tracks that can utilize that air frequencies. This will be really alive in the mix for me. It has still actually a bit more micro detail compared to the DB3s for me in that regard. So it still can resolve for me that micro detail. So actually has still quite okay detail retrieval here overall. Still has a bit of speed here. And yeah, here in Sweet Child of Mine, it's really revealing for me in the mix. Again, you're getting that monitor type of revealing for me in the mix. Let's try some New Millennium by Dream Theater. Okay, maybe one issue for me on top here is this does have a bit of sibilance for me. So I encounter a bit of hotness for me, especially in some tracks. So if you're maybe sensitive to fatigue, if you're also a loud volume listener, you might encounter a bit of hotness here. So I suggest you listen to this in the more toned down volumes. But again, revealing in the mix for me here. So maybe this has some maybe KZZSN Pro vibes as well because of that extension on top here. So you have that clarity on top here, but because this is more of a dynamic driver, you have a bit more maybe toned down top end. It's actually going to separation for a dynamic driver pretty good here. So still won't beat out your BA counterparts, but because the bass is not that boomy in the mix, has that tightness in the overall sound. And also because you have a bit quicker presentation here, the separation is actually pretty good for a dynamic driver here. Soundstage quite big for me in the mix as well. In terms of the micro detail, again, I find it a bit better compared to the DB1s, so that's a bit of an advantage. But still, this won't beat out your multi-driver counterparts. If you do like micro detail, maybe the CSNs, the CRNs of the world, will have better presentation over this one. So actually, let's try to compare it with the DB1s and also the EDX Pro X's, which I think will be the bigger competitors of this. So comparing to the EDX Pro X's, your EDX Pro X's will definitely have more warmth at the bottom. You'll have more bass response. Actually, the EDX Pro again is more of a TFZ kind of sound to the ear. You have really big bass at the bottom, a lot bigger compared to what you are getting with the CRAs. So your CRAs will have a bit more clarity on top here. And for me, yes, compared to this two, the CRAs will have better separation. The EDX Pro X's will be a bit more smooth in the overall presentation. So the separation is not going to be as good. Soundstage as well is smaller for me in the EDX Pro X's, bigger in the CRAs. And also for me, micro detail perception as well is gonna be better in the CRAs in this regard. So actually for me, between these two, which one do I like more? I do like the CRAs in this regard. Tighter bass presentation, better separation, bit better technicalities. a bit more shine on top as well. So yeah, for me, the CRAs takes the cake over the EDX Pro X's in this regard for my personal preference. So DB1s compared to the CRAs, actually these are closer compared to what you're getting with the EDX Pro X's. But for me, the DB1s is gonna have a bit more smooth presentation to the ear. And actually for me, a bit maybe slower presentation as well. So for me, what you're getting with the CRAs is gonna be a bit more monitor type of sound over the DB1s here. Actually for me, the bass is tighter for me in the CRAs. And also the mid bass as well is a bit more controlled for me in the CRAs as well. So the bass is a bit more tight in the overall presentation. Again, more monitor type of presentation here. So actually for me, the separation as well is a bit better in the CRAs in this regard. So I can hear the instruments a bit more clearly compared to what you're getting with the DB1s, that it's a bit more smooth in the overall presentation. And also for me, the mid bass as well is a bit more prominent in the DB1s. That's why for me, in my review, I did say that sometimes the DB1 has a bit more mid bass bleed. But compared to the CRAs, it's gonna be more controlled for me in the CRAs in the mids. Going to the vocals as well, so the CRAs can have more clarity in the vocal region. It's gonna have a bit more push for me in the vocals in the CRAs. However, in the DB1s, I do find the vocal positioning to be better in the DB1s over what you're getting with the CRAs. So if the vocal positioning is critical for you, the DB1s might be your pick. So actually for me, the DB1s as well is a bit more relaxed for me to listen to on the ear. So it's less aggressive of a presentation. So much like the EDX Pro versus the DB1 before in my review, I find the DB1s to be a bit more relaxed to the ear compared to what you're getting with the EDX Pro X's. In the top end as well, the CRAs have more pronounced top end, the shimmer on top, the extension on top is a bit more pronounced in what you're getting with the CRAs. So it has a bit more clear guitar tracks, guitars in the mix has a bit more clear air frequencies for me, or what you're getting with the DB1s. Alright, so between these two, so I actually do like this two here. So between these two, which one do I like more in terms of my personal preference? So for me, I do like the CRAs a bit more here. So I do like that I have better technicalities, you have tighter bass, you have clearer vocals, more extended in the treble region as well, and also more revealing sound, which is what I like personally. I like my revealing sound in the mix. So even if this is more V-shaped compared to the DB1s in terms of the overall tuning, so I do like the CRAs over what you're getting with the DB1s in the overall sound. Alright, so let's try to close this thing. So for the CCA CRA, so what do I think of it? So yeah, I frankly like this. So actually for me, for a V-shaped kind of sound, this is the best V-shaped dynamic driver that you can get in the sub $20 range. So still V-shaped. So if you don't like a V-shaped sound, you will not like this, because this might still be a bit more forward bass for you in the mix. Also maybe a bit more forward 12K in the mix. So if there's just a one con that I can think of, which is maybe a major con for some people, is the sibilance here, or the aggressiveness in the sound. So you might want to change the tips here to some tips that can lower the treble a bit. So I might need to do some tip rolling on that to find the perfect one for this. Of course, that is my take with the CCA CRAs. So you guys requested this a lot, and of course I oblige. Of course, if you learned something, leave a like and subscribe for more content like this in the future. So actually for me, before I unbox this, I kind of expected that the tuning will be similar to the CRNs, because they're both starting with CR. But yes, we're not getting a CRN kind of tuning on the ear. I actually hope that we're also getting that in the $20 range, maybe a dynamic driver presentation with the similarities in the tuning with the CRNs, because we don't have the VK4 anymore. So I was actually expecting that this will be it, but maybe we're gonna get it with a KZ version of this. So KZ surprised us for 2022, but hopefully we're gonna get that in 2022. Of course, if you learned something, leave a like and subscribe for more content like this in the future. Thanks for watching, and I'm gonna see you guys in the next zpolt review. Goodbye.